welcome to another episode of Dawnversations. Today we have Autumn Bear. Hello, Autumn. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited, but you guys, I was telling her I had no idea how to introduce her. You are a woman of many, many backgrounds. Like you could talk about anything, and I love that because I like to talk about everything. But we narrowed it down, and today we're going to talk about vitamins and supplements because I have not done an episode about that yet. I am so intrigued. When we spoke, you told me that you're not supposed to take supplements for a long time.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So can you expand on that?
Well, I think what's important to understand about supplements is that supplements are exactly in the title. I mean, it's like truth in advertising. They are supplemental, right? So when people are taking supplements, it's something that you're supposed to add in to give your body a little help or ease for a period of time. There are some supplements that are designed to be taken over like a long period of time, but it's a very, very small minutia of supplements that you take for longer periods. The rest of them should just come in and go out. And depending on what you're treating or what you're trying to accomplish, you might take them for a month, you might take them for 3, but usually you're going to cycle out of a good portion of your supplements within a 3-month period of time.
So I have a whole pantry filled.
So do I. Yeah.
And I recently just saw a thing about how multivitamins, a lot of them, like, gosh, I don't want to say their names because I don't want to get sued or anything, but
Me neither.
a
Yeah.
lot of the ones in Walgreens and,
Yeah.
CVS and whatever, contain some really bad stuff. Not
Mhm.
just all the stuff that you need, but like
Yeah.
in fine print, you can find. So, but that's an easy way in my mind to get your B, your C,
Yep.
but it's always such a tiny amount, it seems, too. So I always feel like it's better then for me to do separate, but then when you do separate,
Right.
you end up with the whole pantry filled with.
Well, and I think what's really important, when so there's 2 things that kinda come to mind when you say that, and the 2 things are this: most supplements are not FDA regulated, and when there isn't that regulation, there becomes kind of a free-for-all in the market. Not all supplements are created equally, and there's a certain amount of, I would say, supplement companies that take creating supplements very seriously, and it is something that they regulate heavily, test heavily. Traditionally speaking, supplements that you buy in larger corporate entities, and we won't name a single
Yeah,
one, but
right.
everyone knows, if you order it and it is delivered on your doorstep the next day, the chances are that if you're buying from a large conglomerate, they are sitting on the shelf for a long time. They don't have a good amount of regulation on the type of supplements they pull in. They like it to be cheap. Um, Good supplements aren't cheap. Good regulated supplements will expire after, a good amount, like a short amount of time,
Uh-huh.
because and typically the places that you're gonna buy your supplements, specifically when you buy them from a responsible vendor, those supplements are not gonna sit on the shelf for a very long time, so they're gonna have smaller quantities, they're gonna be higher priced. So, just kind of giving people a general idea when you're shopping for supplements, and there's some brands that I really love, that take supplements very seriously. Some supplements you can only get from a healthcare provider, and they're not prescription. It just means that when they're ordered from a healthcare provider, someone like myself who spends a tremendous amount of time looking at supplements,
Mhm.
looking at brands, you're gonna get, you're gonna get a higher quality, and you're gonna know what you're in for, right? And the person you're ordering from is gonna know what they're looking at. So as a general whole, when you're looking at getting supplements, I would say, there's a particular number of brands that I particularly like, and I will give those to you and say, like, here, by general standard, are some good, brands that I think do a great job in terms of quality. But on average, I would not buy your supplements either as a large mass of
Okay.
things like a multivitamin, um, because you should be getting those vitamins from your food, right? Like, generally speaking, the majority of your food, um, should be feeding all of those general, ideas. So, like, your B vitamins, your, um, selenium and your sodium and your like,
Mhm.
all those things tend to come if you're eating a healthy, balanced diet, you're getting those things. If your digestive system is compromised because you have a digestive problem, that's a little bit different. If you can't eat certain foods because they affect your digestive system, but you can get them in smaller quantities and supplements, that's a little bit of a different story. And so those are 2 different topics, right? Like, I would
Yeah.
say, generally speaking, you wanna get from a smart place that does supplements and does them right, and, so you wanna avoid the larger conglomerate places, and you
Amazon.
I mean,
It's
yes,
true. It's true. I
yeah,
mean, it's all over Reddit anytime I get on there and
yeah.
people are like, "Do
You don't know what you're
not."
getting.
You don't know what
No.
you're getting.
And you
Um,
don't know what you're getting at any of the larger places, Costco or,
mhm.
any place that has large stock of vitamins and they're just cheap and on the shelf, like, in large mass, like, not a good idea.
Well, and that's what everybody wants. We want cheap and we want it convenient, like, deliver it to my
Sorry.
house and have it be $5.
You can
But
still have things delivered to your house, and they can still be good quality. So there's a company called Fullscript, which is basically something that we as healthcare practitioners use to help make it easy for our patients to be able to order supplements. You can order from Fullscript without having I think you can without a healthcare provider, but they generally carry very good quality of supplements, and you can just go on there, put them in your cart, and order them. So there's still good ways and easy ways. Good supplements are not going to be cheap. That's it. I'm
okay.
saying it.
Yeah. No, that's
I'm
good. I mean,
saying
it's
it.
good for people to know. It's
Yeah.
because you hear so much misinformation, or I assume it's misinformation because it's different information from every
Everywhere.
different
Yeah.
outlet.
Yep.
Vitamin D.
Yeah.
Okay. Vitamin D and magnesium are the ones I hear the most about, but let's start with vitamin D. That is a hormone, correct?
Yes. Yes, but it's also something that we can't produce it. So we have to get it from outside of our bodies. Traditionally, vitamin D is absorbed through the skin from the sun. And um the challenge of that is that the majority of people do not spend enough time out in the sun, so they're not getting that good absorption. Or with the big push in protecting our skin from the sun, we all wear sunblock,
Sunscreen, yeah.
and that is going to mess with the absorption of vitamin D as well. So I would say, as a general whole, most of our milk is supplemented with vitamin D. You'll see it a lot in various different milk, and they often have it in there. But generally speaking, vitamin D tends to be something that we do not have that we don't get a lot of because of our lifestyle. So in many circumstances, supplementing vitamin D, specifically in the winter months, right? If you spend a lot of time outside in the summer months, they say you need about 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight exposure to get a good amount of vitamin D. It's not really a super long time. If you can do
Right,
if you're capable and able to do 15 to 20 minutes, they say typically you're absorbing it both through the skin and the eyes. If you're outside in the early morning hours or the later part of the day, you're still gonna get good, vitamin D exposure without the heavy, UV rays that are more harmful to our skin. So that's one way that you can go about it. But supplementing in the winter months, depending on where you live, if you live in Southern California, you probably don't need as much.
right.
Uh, but if you live in the mountains or,
Have an
close
office
to
job.
Canada, yeah, exactly. Then you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I wanna talk about magnesium, but before we get into that, I want you to tell people about what your background is, because this is
Yeah.
why we were just like, "Oh, okay, where do we start?"
Yeah.
So how tell them everything, how you got into this and your background.
Yeah. So, My background is in science. I studied exercise physiology with an emphasis on high altitude training. I did a
Ooh.
lot of training on nutritional work, and a lot of my base nutrition came from trying to make athletic performance better. Um, I found that I really just love nutrition, and so I ended up studying a lot more. I dove into getting a master's in public health. A huge portion of what I studied was really maternal and child health, specifically in international medicine, which I think, in terms of like prevention of disease, a lot of nutrition comes as a play in that. And then I ended up getting my master's in acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and I've been a practicing physician in Chinese medicine for the last 20 years. And specifically, I studied a lot of Chinese dietary therapy. So I pull food. I really enjoy using food as medicine.
Mhm.
I think there's really important and valuable information that we need to sometimes learn about our food to understand how to use it as medicine. But my biggest value in life is both the enjoyment of food and the utilization of food as medicine. And then supplementation comes as part of, when someone has disease or they have challenges in their digestive system. I'm able to utilize some of those tools to help someone heal so that they can be in a better place and then they can kind of catapult into a new phase of their life. That's essentially what I do.
Gosh, you are a smarty pants. That's so much different stuff. Um, so herbs then.
Herbs.
Are herbs sometimes for you recommended more than you would a supplement? Do you try and start with something diet-wise
Great
beforehand?
question. My herbal training, so I actually did herbal training. I did my apprenticeship in Boston, and I trained in Western herbs. So my goal in training with herbs was not to get herbs necessarily shipped in from China, but how to utilize everything that we have in the grocery store as essentially quote unquote medicine, right? And so obviously because we are not giving medical advice, or
Right.
like this isn't intended to be anything that
Yes.
we're saying like you should
Disclaimer.
use this and right. So like to be clear, but there's a lot of great things that come in understanding and educating ourselves from the things that we have in the grocery store and what we have in our spice cabinet. So I actually prefer to use those things in our spice cabinet to help our bodies more than I would recommend herbs. But I think tea is one of those ways that we can utilize both. So I'm actually a huge proponent of using medicinal teas, and that is
Mhm.
something I do regularly, especially when someone has a compromised digestive system.
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
We are gonna touch on that at a later date.
I know.
So spices,
Yeah.
are there because a lot of the times you have spices and they're probably extinct up in your cupboard. That's not gonna
Right.
do anything. It's not even gonna give good flavor. But, like, how do you know who's reputable for spices? How do you know?
Good question. I mean, typically speaking, depending on where you live, just because a spice is dried doesn't mean it's dead in terms of its medicinal properties. But if it's been sitting for a long time,
Yeah.
obviously the fresher your herbs are, the more effective they're going to be. In the summertime, when we have an abundance of herbs, this is really like the ideal time to get and either dry it yourself or get fresh herbs from your farmer's market. But I
Mhm.
often buy fresh herbs in the grocery store year round. Like you can get rosemary, thyme, dill, mint, all of those are available to you almost always. Basil, you can get in the grocery store year round. And so those are actually, you can still get good fresh herbs
Right.
almost every season, which
Right.
yeah, don't use the one that have been in the cupboard for like forever. Yeah.
Alright, so
At
let's
least get
circle.
fresh ones, but buy organic, right? So it's really important. Or the reason why we buy organic is because we don't want our herbs to be sprayed heavily with pesticides. Pesticides interfere with a lot of absorption. They interfere with the digestive system. They are toxic. Like
Yeah.
those things are pretty plain and simple. So when buying herbs, It is gonna be more expensive. It is usually gonna be a $5 price point difference in, like, non-organic versus organic things, but it's worth it because you are gonna be utilizing those for your health and benefit, and so I would highly recommend buying something that isn't heavily sprayed with pesticides.
Right, and if you can, make friends with a farmer, make friends with
Yeah,
if they're in your area, people that
grow
harvest
your
it and
own.
yeah, yeah,
Mint
really.
Like, if you wanted to grow mint, it will mint and basil and rosemary, depending on where you live, they take off like wildfire. You can't use enough, you'll be giving it away, right? They actually are very easy to grow in pots on your back porch. They do require a good amount of sunlight, so making sure that you've got good full sun exposure, but that's kind of the fun part is that they
Yeah,
can grow very easily in your yard.
yeah, I felt like I was a farmer when I was growing my own basil. I was like, "Does
Yeah.
anybody need basil?"
It's like, I'm
Dork.
and it's so good. It
Oh,
tastes so different when it's
yes.
fresh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Okay, so we'll circle back. Magnesium.
Yeah.
Why are there 5,000,000 different kinds?
Yeah.
How do you know which one to take? How do you know what is
Yeah.
it the deal with magnesium? It's like a big buzzword.
Yeah, magnesium's a big buzzword. There's 2 reasons why people like to take magnesium. One, they like to help if, they have slow digestion, which I'd like to say from someone who works with people who have digestive issues, I highly recommend that you go see an acupuncturist or a naturopath or a homeopath. And the reason I use those people specifically to help with digestion is because typically in allopathic medicine, they don't study digestion in the same way, and they certainly don't study nutrition. I really encourage people to study their digestive systems through the digestive process. If you have poor digestion, there's usually things that you can alter in your lifestyle to make that better. I don't usually recommend taking magnesium off the bat because you're not fixing the problem, right?
Okay.
If there is a problem with digestion, you want to find that first before you just try supplementing with magnesium to quote unquote fix the problem. The problem is usually that there's something not right in your diet. Right?
Okay.
And so people aren't eating enough fiber, they're not getting enough hydration, they don't have enough, like fruits and vegetables, or like they're eating too much cheese, like there's a lot of maybe not enough lentils, right? There's usually other things going on. So I just like to say that ahead of time.
Yeah.
How the 2 reasons people take magnesium are digestion and sleep. There are basically the 2 main ones that I look at primarily are magnesium glycinate, which tends to help the neurological system kind of calm down. So if someone has trouble with sleep and they're kind of like buzzy and like spinny in the head, magnesium glycinate is usually something that people will utilize to help them fall asleep. Magnesium, that's better for digestion is usually gonna be, magnesium citrate. That's usually something that people will grab, and these are all over the counter. This is not something that I'm like,
Right.
this is something you can pick up at Whole Foods or your grocery
Yeah.
store. Typically, magnesium citrate is something that people will take at night. It helps people sleep, but it also pushes the digestive system and helps people have more regular bowel movements. So those are the 2 types. There are other magnesiums, magnesium oxalate. You find combinations, right? Typically those are your 2 main hitters, and
Yeah.
those are usually what they're used for.
What are the ones that you think should most commonly be taken, a supplement, like, that you think people are lacking in their diet? I mean, I'm not talking if you guys are putting away McDonald's, that's not what I'm talking
Right,
about. I'm talking
right,
about, like, if you're trying your hardest and you're
right,
eating pretty well,
right.
what are some supplements that maybe we're not getting in because of the soil? I know that they always say that the soil's so depleted anymore. Again,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
organic,
Go
but
organic, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
but, like
and also knowing where your food comes from is really helpful. So if you live in a space where there are farm stands or CSAs, they typically try and you can talk to the farmers. Like you can ask them if they have crop rotation. Right? Crop rotation is really important for the nourishment of the soil, right? basically not growing the same foods over and over and over in the same plots of land. If they
Oh,
rotate their crops, for example, maybe they grow, you know, like beans for one crop and then they do beets for another crop and then they do something else, right? So as long as they're alternating where their crops are grown, it tends to replenish the soil. But if they grow the same crop over and over, that's when soil gets depleted.
okay.
Um, if you can talk to your farmer, if you get a CSA, CSAs are great. The challenge of CSAs are you kind of are at the mercy of whatever they're growing. So, like, you could have 3 weeks in a row that's like a bunch of lettuce, but you
Yeah,
just make the best of it, right? And, like,
right.
that's what's seasonal, that's what's, like, good in that moment, and actually, I encourage people to be creative, and try to challenge themselves in that way, but you can ask them about crop rotation. Magnesium, are we lacking in a good, healthy, modern diet, you should not be lacking magnesium. Kids can sometimes be picky eaters, or I would say generally speaking, picky eaters
Right.
tend to not have as much variety of food, and so they might be a little bit nutrient deficient. Magnesium is one of those things that we typically get in good hearty fruits and vegetables. So if you're
Okay.
eating a good variety of fruits and vegetables, you should be getting magnesium in your food. Magnesium deficiency is somewhat rare. It's not something that we see very commonly. I would say we're much more vitamin D deficient than we are magnesium deficient. But like, you can have those panels run in your blood work. You can see where your magnesium is when they do basic panels.
Mhm.
Um, Typically, magnesium deficiency tends to like you get stomach aches. A lot of stomach aches happen. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
listen, again, I'm not giving
For entertainment purposes
for
only.
entertainment purposes only, like, I only know this because, like, I have a child who was getting, like, a ton of stomach aches, and we, like, couldn't quite figure it out. We went to the doctor, had his blood work run, and he was a little bit magnesium deficient, and it's, not for lack of trying, but
Yeah,
sometimes that can happen, like, stuff happens.
right.
Um so, do we need a supplement? Not always. Is it helpful? Magnesium is helpful, especially for people who are struggling to fall asleep. The magnesium glycinate is something that they can look into and obviously discuss with their healthcare provider and see if it's a good option for them.
Yeah,
Um, as far as magnesium citrate goes, if people are taking it to keep themselves regular, I'd like to encourage them to also take a look at their diet. See if there are other ways that they might be able to improve their digestive system without magnesium, because we can get a little reliant on it.
yeah. Well, and when I said there's so many different kinds,
Yeah.
'cause I know that yeah, there's some that you don't need, and
Yeah.
so yeah, but anyway, I have been dealing with migraines for a very long time, I won't go into it, but
Yes. Yeah.
my doctor has me trying the
Yeah.
L-threonate, is that right?
Yep.
L-threonate,
Mhm.
and, so I've been taking that just, like, this last week is when I started it,
Yeah.
and, we're just trying to stay on a more natural path because
Yeah.
I don't want to be on meds, like, I am trying
Yeah.
to avoid that like the plague, and so we're
Totally.
starting with that,
Yeah.
but
And that is a good recommendation for people with migraines, and that is a really common recommendation, and I love that doctors are going that route, because it is a much less it's much better for your body anyway to have magnesium than it is, I think they are doing research to find out, like, if some people are magnesium deficient by nature, like, maybe they burn through it faster, and so
Mhm.
that could lead to migraines, like, there's certainly research going on there, so I love that is becoming more mainstream as a recommendation from doctors.
Right.
I appreciate, yeah.
What made you get into Chinese medicine, like, and functional medicine as opposed to the standard
Yeah.
medical?
Um, I had always really been into medicine just as a curiosity. And then personally, I had done a lot of travel in my 20s and gotten pretty sick as a result of some of these travels. And when I came home, I was trying to kind of figure that stuff out. And a friend of mine was like, "You should try acupuncture." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, I'm pretty down for trying just about anything,
Yeah.
and So I tried it and just really fell in love with it. And so it became kind of a personal journey first. I was a patient for 10 years before I went to school for Chinese medicine. And then the more I learned about Chinese medicine and how powerful and incredible it is, the more I loved it. And then certainly once I got into it professionally, um, I mean, I'm never bored. Like
Yeah.
I always am fascinated by the human body. I'm fascinated by this system of medicine that was developed, thousands of years before allopathic medicine was even a thing, right? Like you think about the American Civil War. I mean, the strongest anesthetic they had in the American Civil War was the equivalent of Listerine.
Oh, my
That's
gosh.
that's why people were, like, biting on sticks when they're, like,
Yeah.
hacking them off,
Oh,
like, that
God.
that think about that, like, that
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago.
Right.
But yet this system of medicine, Chinese medicine, has been in evolution and development for the last 5,000 years. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, the Chinese they invented pediatrics and veterinary medicine and vaccines. And like all of this came out of China well before allopathic medicine was even thinking about it as a possibility.
That's fascinating.
Really interesting.
What would be a good route for people that want to work on their brains?
The
Like
genes.
yes, like, are there supplements or herbs that are
Mm.
really good for, cognition,
Mm.
fog?
Yes. I mean, nutrition. You know, so I do a lot of study in longevity, and I work specifically with a physician, a doctor, an MD, who studies longevity. And I'd like to first and foremost say that there are no hacks for both longevity and brain health. But there are things that we can do to improve our overall brain health. And I would say from a Chinese medical perspective, we really want to look at lifestyle medicine first and foremost before we get into supplemental care. So the things that are really, really important for the brain, there's a few things that I would say. One, make sure you have a natural deodorant. So antiperspirants that have lots of aluminum, those are being very heavily linked to inflammation that creates Alzheimer or that contributes to Alzheimer's
Okay.
and dementia, right? So there's always debates, right? We can go like
Yep.
blue in the face over the debates of the medical system. But if you're gonna think about a lifestyle choice that might influence your long-term health outcome, that's one place you can make a change that doesn't hurt anybody. We're not diving into deep medical science, but choosing a natural deodorant. So there's one that I love. There's a couple that I love. One that's called Brixie, and it actually has magnesium in it, believe it or not. Um,
Oh,
and it is a natural deodorant. It's not an antiperspirant. I don't recommend antiperspirants for long-term life health. It's
okay.
really important for your lymph system to drain. Sweating is part of that. So I know we're talking about brain health, but
That's okay.
if we're looking at the system as a whole, these types of things are really important. Sweating is part of the lymph system. We don't want to clog the lymph system. We need to allow the body to go through its natural processes of eliminating and detoxing. So that's one way that we can make a lifestyle choice, which is natural deodorants. The other one that I like is called Routine. It's a really great like deodorant that doesn't have aluminums. All of these are going to be non-aluminum based. There's going to be no chemicals in there. There's nothing that's going to block the endocrine system, hormonal systems, or create inflammation, which is where they think that brain, like Alzheimer's and
Yeah.
dementia, being seen as large amounts of inflammation, as well as the potential of being an autoimmune condition. So,
Okay.
which is a whole other
Yeah.
like set conversation. But so choosing natural deodorants. The other thing for brain health that's really important is getting your teeth cleaned very regularly. So
Mm.
a good recommendation and things that I understand to be very important are actually getting your teeth cleaned every 3 months instead of every 6 months.
Oh,
The
okay.
bacteria that you have in your mouth, and there's lots of studies that look at the bacteria in the mouth and how it affects brain health, heart health, and uterine health, because that bacteria travels through the axis of the body. And
Wow.
so overall brain health is we can make that lifestyle choice. It takes no time. An
Yeah.
hour 1 hour every 3 months is worth it, right? Because if you're actually reducing the amount of harmful bacteria in your mouth that is quite literally inches away
Right.
from the brain, then there's really no harm in making sure, and it's also good for your teeth. Infections of the mouth are very big contributors of challenges with brain health.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So keep your teeth clean. Brush your teeth, floss your teeth, get them cleaned. Like that the mouth is a very important segue into the body. And
Mhm.
so if we can reduce inflammation in the gums, then ultimately we're reducing inflammation in other parts of our body. Seems like it
Wow.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So those 2 are, like, lifestyle choices that we can choose for brain health. Um, Making sure that we get good sleep. That's a really, really, really important factor, and people are like, "Oh, I can function on 6 hours." No.
Yeah.
You kinda just need to write the check. You are spending 1/3 of your life asleep. That is how it you just that is it. Like, if you feel like you're cheating the system by getting 5 hours a night, you're not. You're not cheating anything. It does catch up to you, and you see it specifically in brain and cognition, right? How do you function?
Mhm.
We don't function well. There's a reason why our bodies shut down at night. That is when we do all of our repairs. That is the capability of allowing circulation to flow in and through the body without having to then be using it for digestion or using it for activity or, muscle repair or you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Um, so sleep is really, really valuable to long-term brain health. It just
Wow.
is, right? Um, Movement is really important for brain health. And the studies that are being done are showing that the day-to-day movement that we have is far greater as an impact on overall body health and longevity and brain health than those short burst gym hits that we do maybe twice a week. So
Mhm.
having an active lifestyle, walking is actually quite possibly the greatest benefit to the body that we could actually do.
And it's so interesting too because if you get stuck behind the computer
Yeah.
or sitting, on your couch with your phone
Yeah.
and do that and you lose track of time because
Yep.
that's what happens.
That's what happens.
You all of a sudden, or at least it hits me this way, where I feel like I don't even have a brain anymore. I'm
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Yeah.
And it's
Totally.
like, I have got to get up and move and walk
Yeah.
away, like, it's
Totally.
crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy
put
how
on a
time
podcast. Put
Yeah.
on a podcast or an audiobook and go for a walk. You are far better served by doing that than you are by sitting in place for yet another 2 hours out of the day.
Yeah.
That movement, that circulation is so vital to overall longevity and overall brain health. Um, and then so I would say like non-toxic deodorants, non-antidepressants, um, sleep, movement,
Thinnest.
getting your teeth clean, right? Those, believe it or not, those aspects of choice influence so much of our brain health. Obviously, good nutrient base, right?
Mhm.
Eating fruits and vegetables. We need 30 grams of fiber a day just to feed our gut. And that gut is what influences our brain because there's
Right.
this huge pathway that pathway between the gut and the brain, that gut brain axis as it's called, is really important. We need 30 grams of fiber a day just to feed those the microbiome, which in turn affects the production of serotonin, which is our happy drug, goes to the brain,
Yeah.
right? People think that it's produced in the brain. It's not. 70 to 80% of it is produced in the gut.
Wow.
So our mood, how we feel, like our overall, efficiency is a lot of it has to do with the food we choose, how our gut functions, right? Believe it or not, brain health is gut health.
Yeah, I know, and it is hard. You hear it all the time now,
Yep.
and it's like people are just thinking it's their stomach, either I'm full or I'm hungry. Yeah, that's all I know about my stomach, or if
No,
it's gonna, if I'm having
yeah.
issues. But
No, it's so, so valuable. So that's another big aspect of brain health. And then I would say from a supplemental perspective, I would say I highly recommend people go out and take a look at a supplement called Fatty 15. Um, it is a really interesting supplement that I would say, in terms of like if we're looking at a longevity supplement, this one's really interesting. It's got like over 100 peer-reviewed papers that have been written about it. It's been, studied in terms of reduction of inflammation. It is a great, which I think as a general whole, the average, at least from an American perspective, the biggest problem we face is inflammation and
yeah,
obesity.
right.
Those are two big I mean, those two things lead to so many other things. Like, it's
Yes,
the only thing, no, but like if you take those two pieces, if we could just improve those two things,
right.
be in much better place for all the rest. So that's a really interesting one that I think if I were gonna pick something that's not lifestyle based, that's supplemental based, that would be one is one that I'm very interested in.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're so lucky you don't live by me. I'd be, like, inviting you over all the time, like, okay, let's talk all about."
No, I love that. I Are you kidding? Like, we've already been talking for, like, 45 minutes. I can, like, keep going forever.
I
Yeah.
love it. Well, tell people how they can find you, and by the way, anybody listening or watching, I am going to have her back 'cause so if you have questions, send
Yes.
them to me. We
Yeah.
are gonna have her back, and
Oh, I would love to answer questions. Yes. If there are people out there that have questions, that's like my favorite thing, to like, because I do feel like there's so much information out there.
you can forget, like, what you wanna get across sometimes.
Well, but it's like there's so much information that people are constantly trying. They have an idea and they're like, what's a good supplement for brain health? And then it's just like this huge array of information on the internet, and it's really hard to sort through, and it's really
Yes.
overwhelming.
Yes.
So, if I can help in any way to even just have those great conversations to spur some good thought, I'm so happy to do that. That makes me very happy. If you wanna find me, I'm you can certainly reach me. I have a clinic in Park City, Utah, um, and my website is autumnbear.com, but I'm in the process of creating both an app and what I would like to call a health movement. It's called Health Punk. I am just getting everything up and running, and this specifically at this moment in time pertains to gut health, brain health, the gut brain axis, what we can do for ourselves to improve all of those things, but in a fun and joyful way. So, my Instagram is health punk, and I'll send that to you so that you can
Yeah.
find. Um, I have a website, a landing page. I'm collecting people's emails so that if people want to be part of that movement, I'm super into it. And then I have just started a Substack, um, writing and basically publishing articles. So if people want to find me, they can find me at Substack, at Health Punk as well. So I'm happy to answer questions anytime.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome, and I'll put all of it in the show notes so everybody knows how to find you, and if you have questions, reach out to her. She can help you. I could seriously talk to you forever. I appreciate your time. Thank you
Yes,
so much. Please come back. I would
I
love to
will.
have you back. And yeah, this is mind blowing. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to title this episode.
I don't know either.
It's when I talk to people like you, I'm just like, whatever. It's going to
I
be
love
the
it.
smorgasbord of
Right.
podcasts. But
That's
anyway,
right.
thank you so much. Have the best day, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you too. Take
All right,
care.
bye-bye.